Today we're going to continue discussing World War II propaganda. So if we go back to our goal to understand the various styles of propaganda used during World War II, and then we'll take a look at exactly what propaganda is. Again, we said yesterday that propaganda is information, especially of a biased or misleading nature, used to promote or publicize a particular political cause or point of view. In essence, it is something that's trying to sway your opinion, but to do so maybe in the not most honest ways, usually by using different types of exaggeration, etc. So today we're going to continue looking at some propaganda cartoons. Today we're going to take a look at a video called What Hitler Wants, which is actually Soviet propaganda, which is anti-Adolf Hitler.
Хочет хлеб у колхозников отнять. Хочет заводы буржуям отдать. Хочет землю усеять гробами. Хочет свободных сделать рабами. Получит втрое за каждый удар. Десятки пожаров за каждый пожар. Получит штык, огонь и свинец. Получит фашизма бесславный конец. коварна фашистов змеиная злоба. Будь бдителен всюду, поглядывай в оба. Помни о коварстве врага. Будь бдителен, разоблачай фашистских шпионов, разведчиков, диверсантов. Соглашение между правительствами СССР и Великобритании о совместных действиях в войне против Германии.
So there you have it. Notice how the Germans were portrayed as evil and dark, which they were in real life, but especially the dark scenes to show them. Notice that they were also portrayed as very sneaky and trying to sabotage the people as the enemy of the people. And in that last cartoon, we even saw that they were daring enough to show the Holocaust and really show how Great Britain and the Soviet Union were fighting to stamp out the Holocaust. So something that we don't see in too many propaganda cartoons. Now, the Nazis also had their own propaganda. We're not going to focus too much on Nazi propaganda, but I think it's important to note that, well, we were coming up with propaganda, and the Soviets had propaganda. The Nazis, too, had propaganda. And this one shows Bolshevikism without the mask. And basically, it's portraying the Soviets in a very negative way, showing the Soviets as being cunning and killing. Again, you see this evil image in the picture, a murderer. This one portrays Jewish people in a negative way. Remember, Hitler was very anti-Jewish, and so he basically equates the Jewish people to sucking locusts. So basically bugs, vermins, very negative portrayal. Other Nazi propaganda focused on a more positive side of things. This one, hanging outside the Reichstag, suggested that if you signed up for the war for 4 more years, you could make Germany great again. And this one sort of shows the war in a much different light, especially later on in the war when it became obvious that Hitler couldn't really improve more wages because all the money was going to the war effort. The one thing he did try to do was make life better for many Germans, and this was trying to make workers satisfied, showing them that you could get a new car, you could get a new automobile if you work hard enough at it. So now let's take a look at some Nazi propaganda. So we see, again, the Nazis being portrayed as very strong and image of strength and superiority to everybody else in that cartoon. Now on a lighter note, let's take a look at an American cartoon, Bugs Bunny, one called Any Bonds, which was designed to sell war bonds.
The tall man with a high hat and a whiskers on his chin will soon be knocking at your door, and you ought to be in. The tall man with the high hat will be coming down your way. Get your savings out when you hear him shout, "Any bonds today?" Come on and get 'em, folks. Come on, skip right up and get 'em. Any bonds today? Bonds of freedom, that's what I'm selling. Any bonds today? Scrape up the most you can. Here comes the freedom man, asking you to buy your share of freedom today. Many stamps today. Give kiddies. We'll be blessed if we all invest in the USA. Sammy, my Uncle Sammy.
Here comes the freedom man.
Can't make tomorrow's plan.
Not unless you buy a share of freedom today. Any stamps, any bonds today.
As you can see, that one was a little bit more happy and upbeat and showed the patriotism of being an American. Now we'll take a look at a little bit of Japanese propaganda. This one's showing harmony between Japan, China, and Manchuria. Of course, there was hardly harmony or peace between them. We know what happened with the invasion of Nanking, the rape of Nanking. We know what happened in that. But still, Japan wanted to at least try to convince the people that they were out to seek peace. Notice the dove in the background, universal sign of peace. Not really peace that they actually got, but they were at least aiming towards it. This one says, "Let's win the Greater East Asia War," and goes on to explain why it's important to get involved in spreading the Japanese sphere of influence across most of East Asia. This one is a propaganda book, and you could read the entire book, and it shows cartoons basically vilifying the British, vilifying the American imperialism, and showing the necessity of Japan to fight back to protect herself. Of course, that's not exactly what was going on, but still look at the cartoons, and I think you'll find it interesting to see the way the Japanese portrayed the British and the Americans. This one shows the submarine heroes who died in the Pearl Harbor attack. So these were those who were in the midget subs, just using their death as a way to promote patriotism within Japan. And this one shows the success of Pearl Harbor. The Japanese, well, in the long run, Pearl Harbor ended up being a bad deal for them because it dragged America into the war. It awoke the sleeping giant. It angered us and made us want to fight even more. Early on, the Japanese used their huge success in at least sinking tons of ships and really knocking out the harbor for the better part of a year, year and a half until we were able to rebuild. The Japanese used that as a sign of pride, and a lot of propaganda stemmed from the attack on Pearl Harbor. Ironically, today, if you were to talk to somebody in Japan about the Pearl Harbor attacks, they either wouldn't know what you were talking about or they at least don't focus on it very much. Japanese schools today try to avoid talking anything about Japanese war success. The only thing they really focus on in World War II today is peace and what happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Not even anger for Americans, but just more of a sense of let's try to create peace. Let's try to make sure this never happens again. This one shows the cherry blossoms on Mount Fuji, a symbol of a heroic death. This would have been from the later parts of the war, indicating that if you die for Japan, you die for your country, you are dying for a just cause. And then the Japanese had their fair share of propaganda cartoons as well. This one is called Evil Mickey. And you can see this was done in 1936 before World War II started. But when the Japanese invaded Manchuria and the Americans responded by putting an embargo on most war materials, Japan wasn't really too thrilled, and they were already starting to get angry about what the United States was doing. And so you can see this cartoon that they did, Evil Mickey. Even if you don't read Japanese, which I don't, you can get the themes and the tones of the American hero Mickey Mouse and how he's portrayed by the Japanese.
かくかようの通りで。何卒お助けくだされませ。
オーケー。
So as you can see, even Mickey Mouse can be a villain. Of course, this wasn't endorsed by Disney. Disney did not help create this or make this. The Japanese basically ripped off the image of Disney and made Mickey out to be evil. The Japanese also did a number of non-cartoons as propaganda, showing the success that they had in battle, as well as some of the things that they were fighting against. So this looks at the attack in the Philippines.
Ito ang maigpit na pagsalakay sa bataan ng mga sundalong Hapon. Ang mga sundalo ng Estados Unidos ng Amerika ay hindi malaman kung saan tatakbo. At sa ganito ay naiiwan nila ang mga bala ng machine gun at ang mga dinamita. Dumating din ang mga representantes ng Propaganda Corps ng Japanese Imperial Army upang sabihin sa mga sundalong Pilipino na hindi sila ang tunay na kalaban ng mga Hapon kung hindi ang mga Amerikano. Parada ng Japanese Imperial Army sa Maynila ay nagpakita sa atin ng kalakasan ng kanilang kwerpo militar. Ang libo-libong truck, bisikleta at tangke ay hinangaan ng mga nakapanood. Gayon din ang malulusog ng mga katawan ng sundalong Hapones.
So just as the American military likes to highlight our successes and show how awesome we do when we win in battle, the Japanese were trying to do the same thing in the Philippines. They also, as you saw, sent in propaganda people to try to brainwash the Filipino people into thinking that the Japanese were going to be their saviors and their heroes. Of course, they were not. The next one we're going to look at is a more lighthearted cartoon called Ductators. As you guessed, So as you can see, the Japanese did a lot of propaganda that was promoting how great the Japanese were and how they were going to save the Philippines from the Americans. Of course, this is all highly biased, but that is the message that they wanted to create. The idea that the Japanese military was superior, that they had greater firepower, greater training, and that they would help liberate the Philippines from the evil Americans, or at least evil in the eyes of the Japanese. The next propaganda video we're going to look at is one called Ductators, and as you might imagine, it stars our favorite friends from the Looney Tunes, dressed up as dictators throughout the course of the war. So not only enjoy the Looney Tunes cartoon, but also pay attention to many of the symbols that you'll see. Look at the way that the dictators are portrayed. Look at the difference between the American side and the evil dictators. So I give you Ductators.
unhappy barnyard some years ago, a seemingly unimportant event occurred which was destined to vitally affect the future of that little world. Mr. and Mrs. Duck were expecting.
Mama, was ist los? What's this, a dark horse?
And so time passed. Hey, Bud, not so fast.
Oh, all right. But time does fly, don't it, Johnny?
Time passed. The bad egg grew to duckhood, and with artistic aspirations dreamed of brush and palette, but ended up with only the brush.
Did you know art?
His artistic efforts spurned, he soon turned to other endeavors.
Und vergiss nicht, you dops, ich bin der abgeblasene Fresh in Deutschland, in aller Europa, ja in der ganzen Welt. My mother done told me. Say Heil!
And there were some gullible ones who listened. Especially one goose, more gullible than gooses. Geese usually go.
That's all right. That's the old stuff, kiddo. He's a smart fellow with brains, huh? Like me.
Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil, boy. I'm from South Germany. Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil! I'm a sick heiler, too.
E comincia contando. Sei tutte 9:10. Tutti frutti, and all kinds of whips of cream and a wall of nuts.
Dear me, oh dear. Oh, what has come to so erase all thoughts of peace from off this place? Have they forgot 'tis love that's right, and naught is gained by show of might? Then from out of the west came another partner to make a silly axis of himself.
I a Japanese a sapper man, sneaking on with a do. Just a Japanese a sapper man, I'm a little crazy too. Oh, just a minute, Prita. Oh, I am not a Japanese son of gun. Yeah, and I'm mock turtle soup.
With spreading clouds of war, once more the Axis marched toward dreams of further conquest.
1, 2, button on my shoe. 3, 4, Shatana Roboto. 5, 6, stay him over the sticks. 7, 8, array them straight. 9, 10.
Begin again.
Mercy me, regretful sight. O branch of peace, forestall this fight. Kind sirs, change your warlike. Stop! Now, where were we? Oh, yes.
Peekaboo, Frizz. Busy little bee, aren't I?
I hate war, but once begun, well, I just didn't choose to run. So I can point with pride and say, there's 3 that didn't get away.
That's all, folks.
Next, we're going to take a look at a Donald Duck clip, and in this one, you'll see the contrast between what life is like in America, in the good old United States of America, and what life is like in Germany and the other Axis nations. So I encourage you to pay careful attention to the scenery, to the tone, to the way that we view things in the Axis versus the way we view things in America.
Yes, payday. Millions of dollars pouring into the hands of the American worker. Now in the mind of the average worker live 2 separate personalities. One, the thrifty.
Wait a bit, laddie. You're going to save a bit of that, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Oftentimes, idle money burns a hole in your pocket, which brings out the other personality. The spendthrift.
Hi, big shot. Come on with me. I'll show you how to spend your dough. I got a couple of good dates.
But, laddie, I've got some better dates.
Important ones, too. When every American should pay his or her income tax gladly and proudly. This year, thanks to Hitler and Hirohito, taxes are higher than ever before. Will you have enough money on hand to meet your payments when they fall due?
We'll take care of that later. Forget it.
But you don't want to forget our fighting men, do you?
Yeah, sure.
Then you'll have to start saving right away to meet your tax payments.
Yeah.
Listen, chum. Spend it. It's your dough.
Yeah, it's my dough.
Aye, laddie. It's your dough. But it's your war, too. You must save for victory.
What's money for? Spend it. Shoot the works.
Nay, you must save it. Spend. Save.
Spend, save, spend, save, spend, save, spend, save, spend, save, spend, save. spend for the Axis or save for taxes? Just remember, every dollar you spend for something you don't need is a dollar spent to help the Axis. That's right. And every dollar you sock away for taxes is another dollar to sock the Axis. For it is your taxes, my taxes, our taxes that run the factories. American factories, working day and night. Factories making guns, machine guns, anti-tank guns, long-range guns, guns, all kinds of guns. To blast the aggressors from the seas. Taxes for American factories, working full blast, making planes. Bombers, dive bombers, flying fortresses, interceptors, stalk the birds of prey that fly by night. Taxes to bury the Axis. Taxes for ships, battleships, battle cruisers, destroyers, all kinds of battle wagons. Taxes to sink the Axis. Taxes to keep them flying. Taxes to keep them rolling. Taxes to keep them coming. Taxes to beat to earth the evil destroyer of freedom and peace. This is our fight. The fight for freedom. Freedom of speech, of worship. Freedom from want and fear. Taxes will keep democracy on the march.
Oh, how great America is. The next clip we're going to look at is one known as Tokyo Jokio, and it is a highly racist cartoon. Please don't repeat a lot of the things that you see in this film. It portrays the Japanese as well as the rest of the Axis in a very negative light. It makes a joke out of them, portrays them as deceitful and dishonest, and so I'll let you take a look at some of this symbolism as we go along.
Attention, please. This film, now released for public showing, has been captured from the enemy. It is a typical example of vicious Japanese propaganda.
Cock-a-doodle-doo, please.
now privileged to witnessing demonstration of Japan's finest air raid siren. And now please to observing a look at listening post. Over here, our honorable aircraft spotter. Now we are showing you fire prevention headquarters. Oh, Sanagan, too late. Incendiary bombs.
One, two, three, four, five. Okay.
Oh, losing face, please. Losing face.
Kitchen hints. To demonstrate how to constructing a delicious Japanese club sandwich. Slice a bread ration card, so. Place a piece of a meat ration card, so. Then eat them. Oh, yum yum sandwich. After eating, you are enjoying a club. Presenting Nippon News Styles of the Week. Presenting Japanese victory suit. No cuffs. No pleats. No lapels. No suit. These are Red Toga-san bringing you highlights in the world of sport. Here we are seeing Japanese King of SWAT. Headline personalities. And I, Yamamoto, will dictate peace terms in the White House. General Hama demonstrates coolness and calmness of a Japanese officer during air raid. Flashes from the Axis. Berlin. Flash, the Fuhrer has just received a postcard from a friend vacationing abroad. Rome. The Rome Chamber of Commerce takes us for a visit through its celebrated ruins. For Japanese Navy or at sea. Oh, believe it or don't, this submarine launched 3 weeks ahead of schedule. Inside submarine, fierce sailors work in maze of intricate machinery, indicators and control levers. Oh, very, very technical. This happy gentleman are navigating a human torpedo. Very, very dangerous stuff. But he are not caring. Are you, happy gentleman? He are courageous like Dickens. Happy gentleman, have you anything to say? Oh, no, nothing except Rat me out of here! Now we are sneaking glimpse of brain being launched by super duper catapult device. And here are Zero Fighter demonstrating new tricycle landing gear. Approaching into our scene are Honorable Skinamaru, our busiest aircraft carrier. Whoa, this little vessel are Navy minesweeper.
That's all, folks.
Again, hopefully you get an idea of the racist stereotypes and almost making a mockery of the Japanese people that Tokyo Jokyo does. If you've enjoyed this journey through propaganda cartoons, there are a whole lot more out there that you can look at on your own. I would advise that you get your parents' permission first because some of them are not exactly school appropriate, but I would recommend going to YouTube, and if you search for World War II propaganda or World War II cartoons, you can find a lot of the most common ones, especially the Warner Brothers stuff, and especially some of the government-made cartoons are available, as well as many of the foreign-made, the Nazi and the Soviet and Japanese propaganda. Other than that, other places you can look. There is a video called Disney Goes to War. I think it's Disney Goes to War. There's also a video that calls The Cartoons Go to War, something like that. And those also do a pretty good job of detailing what some of the propaganda looked like during the war. There was more propaganda that the U.S. government had to come up with after the war was over. So one of the problems that we have is we've got these soldiers, young men, many of them who enlisted at a young age, and they've been off fighting war, and they might not know what it's like to live on their own and to have their own life in America. And even many of those older gentlemen who went off to war, they come back, and still getting back to normal life is going to be difficult for a lot of people, especially when it comes to respecting women and treating people with a lot of respect. A lot of the men just don't know how to act in normal life, not by any fault of their own, but just because they've been away at war so long. And so a lot of the post-war propaganda is all about how to get Americans readjusted to American life. Some of the cartoons are funny, some of them are still brutal or racist or sexist, and a part of that is just sort of the nature of the times. By today's standards, things are a lot different than they would have been in the 1940s when a lot of this stuff was made. So just remember, a lot of the stuff that was said in the propaganda cartoons was just more of the nature of the time. That's the way people talked, and what was normal, what were the norms of the day, have changed over time. And so what we would find pretty inappropriate today, at least for many people, was on the borderline of acceptable back then. That concludes part 2 of our journey through propaganda. I hope you enjoyed it and look forward to seeing you soon.